morning, everyone. Today I will be acknowledging the issue of racism that is ever so present in today's society throughout this presentation. We take a look at digressing the issue of racism by providing insight into the topic and how it affects the individual but the greater society in which we live in. I get the chance to sit down with an individual born in the Philippines who has now moved to Australia, discussing their experience and how it impacted their life. I hope you guys enjoy. So, what is racism? Racism takes many forms and can happen in many places. It includes prejudice, discrimination, or hatred directed at someone because of their colour, ethnicity, or national origin. People often associate racism with acts of abuse or harassment. However, it doesn't need to involve violent or intimidating behaviour. Take racial name calling and jokes, or consider situations when people may be excluded from groups or activities because of where they come from. Racism can be revealed through people's actions as well as their attitudes. It can also be reflected in systems and institutions, but sometimes it may not be revealed at all. Not all racism is obvious. For example, someone may look through a list of job applicants and decide not to interview people with certain surnames. Racism is more than just words, beliefs, and actions. It includes all the barriers that prevent people from enjoying dignity and equality because of their race. How are our attitudes formed regarding racism? People aren't born with racist ideas or attitudes. Racism is something that is learned. As individuals, we form our attitudes based upon positive or negative experiences, whether that be relating to a person, place, or object. This refers to growing up seeing modelled behaviour of how others act where situations involving racism may occur. In many ways, the incorporation of the social learning theory by Bandura has guided my knowledge and understanding regarding the matter of racism, with particular reference to how other members of the community modelled their behaviour towards those in which racial situations may occur. Being around such events has allowed me to first listen, understand, and empathise with the individuals before rushing into a situation irrationally, ultimately creating a pathway to understanding and awareness to where the other individual is coming from so that they may feel welcome and comfortable in society. There remain a small minority of people who believe that some races are superior to others. While most people in Australia today accept the diversity of our society, some also believe racial groups should not mix. A belief in racial superiority or purity can lead to racial hatred. However, not all racism comes from hatred. Some of it can come from fear and anxiety. People may worry that some groups pose a threat, whether to the safety of the community or to the national identity. Ignorance can play a part in feeding people's racial attitudes, as can the need to belong to one's own group. Racism isn't always malicious. Sometimes the harm of racism can be done innocently because someone may not know better. Who experiences racism? Some groups experience racism at higher rates. For example, those from culturally diverse backgrounds often have to deal with systemic forms of discrimination. Such experiences limit the access that members of these groups enjoy to the opportunities and resources offered to many people from Anglo-Australian backgrounds. Migrants and refugees also regularly experience racism, in particular those who have recently arrived. Media reports and commentary that use negative stereotypes about refugees and migrants can fuel prejudice against these groups in the wider community. These attitudes can make it difficult for new arrivals to find housing and jobs and to feel connected to their communities. So why does society see racism as a problem? Racism causes harm to those who are on the receiving end. It hurts individuals, communities, and our society at large. Studies show that experiencing racism has profound effects on people's health and welfare. The effects can include feelings of sadness and anger, even anxiety and depression. The regular experience of racism can lead to people withdrawing from work or study and diminish their quality of life. Individual born in the Philippines. These are the following questions I chose to ask. Now, this person chose to stay anonymous and thought it'd be a good idea for me to write down his answers towards the questions. So, what was it like when you first came to Australia? His response to me was, I remember feeling very overwhelmed with mixed emotions of excitement but also nervousness. I did not know much English or barely any, which affected my communication towards others. So straight away we can see here the English language barrier would have affected his sense of belonging within the community, and he would have found it hard to fit in. When you thought of coming, what did you think it would have been like? His response was sunny weather, opportunities to find work to help for the family back home. However, due to my lack of English and communication barrier, I found it hard to find a job, and it took me the best part of 4 to 5 months when I first arrived. So this we can see here his transition into the community was a slow one, but surely he picked up and he found his way. Lastly, the last question I asked him, do you think racism is present in society today? His answer was, I do believe racism still exists and we have a long way to go. I think from a young age we need to be great role models towards our kids so that they understand that just because people may look different or act differently does not mean they deserve to be treated differently. Thank you guys for watching my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed.